Let's take a look at how we can create galvanized steel. That's actually a really fun material to do. I have my leg selected, new, galvanized steel. Check this one. And well, how does galvanized steel look like? Well, first, let's do some Google searches. Then here we have some references. So there's some noise, some scratch, some dirt, an interesting cell structure. And looks like, yeah, the cell structure even influences the roughness. Because you can see some areas are more reflective, some are less. It's more, the reflectivity is more strong and more polished, and in some it's actually the reflectivity looks is weaker because it's more rough. Okay, that gives us actually a tip in what we have to do. Shift A, input texture coordinates. Shift A, texture Voronoi. Zack and zack. And let's see the scale. 500. Okay, so we're back to the cell structure. It's not what we want. Check out, however, the color output. Look at that. There's our cell structure. Okay, yeah, that could work. So Shift A, then converter and RGB to black and white. Now we turn a color into a grayscale. Cool. So we know we are black and white. Black is 0, white is 1. We can use that for the roughness. Then specular we set down and metallic we set up, and look at that. Pretty nice, no? Again, the black pieces are what actually makes the reflection. So the black pieces is what makes the reflection look clear because the roughness is smaller, and the white areas, because the roughness is higher, make the reflection look more blurry or less reflective. Okay, there we are. So we can actually play with the roughness by Shift A adding a color ramp. After this, now we have white 1, black 0, 0, no roughness. Okay, well, let's change this to maybe something like this. And there you see now that we get a stronger not a stronger, we get a more blurry look because we're making the surface rougher. Obviously, when, for example, those two colors reach a very similar value, then yeah, it will look the same. If we go down to here and down to there, now there it looks like super reflective. So this one, maybe there. This, because this is white, there should be more there. But white really means super rough, maybe more like a dark white. Okay, very good. I'd like to show you a photo I took. There. So you see this is actually galvanized steel, and then it has a clear lacquer coating on top. This is actually now then I will show you how we set this up, but there you can see how, for example, all this can look. And here this is worn off. So galvanized steel. Okay, so let's go back to Blender. So this top coat, now this clear coat, this is, well, what we do with the clear coat more or less. If I set this to 0, let's see how this actually would look. Clear coat roughness. Yeah. No, I guess I might need to have this under it. Okay, good. Maybe I should have tested this before having said this, but this could also be because we're just in EV. Let's see this. Yeah, I don't really see actually the difference. Or maybe it's there, it's just hard to see. But essentially, with this, we can adjust the reflectivity. Yeah, make this actually dark to see if the clear coat. Oh yeah, no, it is there now. But you see, it was hiding it a little bit. So clear coat, that's really the clear on top, and then the rest, that is actually for the actual reflection of the metal under it. Okay, let's go back to Eevee. There we are. Okay, cool. So if we want now to add a little bit of the 3D structure to it, because right now this is very flat. Also, while we're using this Voronoi texture to create this crystal structure and then roughen up the surface or the reflection, we need to roughen up the surface actually more. We can do this again. Noise texture. Maybe 2000 and bump. There and then there. This is very strong, obviously, so we need to lower the distance. 0.0001. Yeah, okay. I just turned the clear coat off because I only wanted to see how this will work with the basic reflectivity. The size is actually of this noise pattern, the scale is too small, so maybe 8000. Yep, now this looks better. Yeah, and then essentially now all we can do is try to play with these values more. What happens if we tint this a little bit? Now, again, sliding colors in here I find very tricky. I rather would try to pick maybe my hue, and then I use the saturation slider to do this. So it's slightly bluish, that makes it look better. It's not just clean white, that just doesn't exist. Okay, very nice. Cool. Yeah. One last thing maybe to see if visually this could be interesting. What happens when we add this actually to the bump mapping instead? So we get kind of like an interesting stepped look. We don't really see much. I was curious if we could mix these things, but let's for the moment actually stay with this more. So, and the color here, this goes back into the roughness. Since this video should only be a basic introduction, it should not be too complicated. Okay, so what else could we do just for an advanced version, just as a pointer? So let me go back maybe to here. So there we see there is some noise inside actually these colors. Maybe actually for coloring the steel, there's something we can do. So it's not just a blue steel color we defined, and then the roughness has this anodized pattern on it. Maybe some of these dots. Maybe we could create another map with with dots actually, but this is a very fine detail. We might not really see this from a further distance. Well, computer generated. We can also look around and try to see, so what is all actually anodized? Now, I mean, this is anodized too. Oh, look at this, the bumpiness. This looks, for example, very similar to here, no? Maybe actually the reflectivity is maybe a tick too strong. Note about the reflectivity. How do we judge all this stuff? Honestly, don't try to set this up here. Build the scene, and then when we render it, then we can better judge how the reflectivity really works in the environment. Sometimes also we want to override the value so that they artistically look good. The goal is not necessarily always having to rebuild reality one-to-one. Well, kind of like painters. We paint in 3D, and we want to guide somebody into understanding, seeing what we do. Anyway, I think this is everything that's good for learning how to create a galvanized steel.